Hello to the pessimistic, optimistic, and everyone in between. My name is Connor Philippi, and welcome back to the Minnesotan Sports Podcast. And we finally made it. We finally made it to the home stretch of NFL games where we're going to have some of our best games all in the span of 1 month. And then we're going to go into the dark ages of no football for about 4 months. And there will be plenty of exciting stuff, as always, in the offseason. But we just don't want to think about the offseason right now. We're trying to just focus on these games that are coming up and not think about that for the time being. But we have some really good, exciting games coming up for this wild card weekend. And just a quick announcement before I get into these predictions, I will be going live here on YouTube on Sunday the 14th for the late game. It's going to be the Rams at the Lions, which should be a really good game. A lot of really interesting storylines in it. So I'm just going to be going live at about 7 or 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So the time that is here in Minnesota, 6:30, it'll be 7:30 on the East Coast. So make sure you tune in. We're gonna hang out. I'll be talking about all the other games that happened before because there's gonna be 4 full games that already happened. I'll talk about those. I'll do a little quick preview of the Rams Lions, and then a lot of it will just be kind of me watching the game, talking about what's happening, and also interacting with everyone in the chat, and just kind of a cool, chill hangout stream with obviously a very important game that we're going to be watching as well. But anyway, we're going to go into these predictions now, and I'm going to start things off with the Browns at the Texans. Obviously interesting here because even though Deshaun Watson isn't playing in this game, it's the battle between the two teams that traded for him. The Texans clearly doing well without him. The Browns also clearly doing well without him, as Joe Flacco has been leading the Browns to some really impressive wins in the last few weeks of the season. Obviously, it's the defense really that is leading, but Joe Flacco is also playing lights out right now, and it's just crazy to see considering he was on his couch the last couple years now. And then on the Texans side, you got C.J. Stroud, who is far and away Rookie of the Year. If he is not Rookie of the Year, I don't know what anyone else is thinking. And thankfully, getting Nico Collins back. Of course, Tank Dell had a really nasty injury, so they are without him. But Collins is a huge factor to have into this game. This is honestly going to be a very interesting one. I think the Browns defense is going to give this C.J. Stroud-led offense a lot of trouble, but I think it'll end up being really close at the end of the day. Cleveland currently projected to win this one by odds of 2.5. And I think it is going to come down to the turnover battle. If the Browns can get some big turnovers, if they can get to Stroud and get him to fumble a couple balls off of the pass rush, I think that's going to end up being the difference. Something tells me Flacco isn't going to have a phenomenal game, but I think he might do just enough to lead the Browns to a victory. I'm going to say that this defense and Joe Flacco will do enough to get past this Texans team. This Houston offense was really rolling in the middle part of the season. They were dealing with a lot of adversities, losing Tank Dell, and I think their offense has just taken enough of a step back. Still an impressive offense, but it's taken enough of a step back where I feel like I have to pick the Browns to win this matchup, so they will advance, in my eyes, to the divisional round. Next, we have the Dolphins at the Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs really won this division by default. They ended up falling all the way to 11-6, including some honestly really, rough losses to teams like the Raiders, and it feels like the Chiefs are going through the exact same situation that the Packers did a few years back, where they're starting to realize, hey, the strategy of just getting good protection around our QB and then just letting whatever wide receivers go onto the field because we can't afford any of them, it's not a strategy that seems to be working anymore. Back when the Chiefs had 1 or 2 options, even when they didn't have Tyreek, they were still able to win the Super Bowl last year because they had a few serviceable guys. This year, they just decided, hey, apparently Mahomes can throw to anyone, and so they just threw random guys who I didn't even know who they were onto the field. And besides Kelsey, it's really nobody's in the wide receiver room for the Chiefs. And it seems like this offense just is not firing on all cylinders this year. The Dolphins are coming into this game, however, with a situation where the Dolphins it's been very clear that the Dolphins have only been able to perform well against bad teams and at home. They have a certain cadence to their offense where if they fall out of rhythm, things are not going to be good for them. Chiefs, Arrowhead Stadium, I mean, this is one of the most difficult away places to play in the entire NFL. I just feel like the Dolphins, if the Dolphins were the second seed in the playoffs, I would have them going to the AFC Championship. But it's gotten to a point now where they needed to have those home games and even in order to have that chance. And because that home field advantage got taken away from them, I have to pick the Chiefs to win this game. It makes it's such a swing of momentum for the Dolphins, whether they're at home or away. And I feel like true Super Bowl champion caliber teams can find a way to win in these tough situations, whether they're at home or away, based on the chips that were dealt to them in the regular season. I think the Dolphins will lose this game. The Chiefs will move on to the divisional round in what would be a really crushing defeat for the Dolphins, who thought they had a chance to win the division for the first time in 20 plus years and go even further. It would be a really rough way for them to lose. Next up, we've got the Buffalo Bills hosting the Steelers after the Bills had that incredibly impressive win at the end of the season where they defeated the Dolphins at Miami. I mean, it's just a really. The thing is, we thought it would be shocking, and then we watched the game, and it ended up not being shocking because all of a sudden, the Bills showed what they were. You know, they're a team that lives and dies by what Josh Allen is able to do with the football, and their defense made some big plays. James Cook honestly tore it up, and the Bills are a team where if they can get the running game going, and if they can get Josh Allen to make more splash plays than mistakes, then they are going to be golden. And the thing is, Josh Allen does throw interceptions, but when he offsets those interceptions with 60-yard touchdown throws, it makes up for it. If he throws 2 interceptions and doesn't get those splash plays, the Bills might lose by 20. And right now, I feel like they're starting to reach that level of consistency where even with Josh Allen making a couple mistakes each game, their offense is still going to be able to roll in the playoffs. Going into this game, especially against the Steelers, if TJ Watt was in this game, I would maybe consider the upset. I still don't think I would have picked the Steelers even with TJ Watt in, but now that he is out for at least a couple weeks here with his injury, I don't see a situation where the Bills lose this game. Now, do keep in mind it's looking like the Orchard Park Stadium, Highmark Stadium, will be very windy, so that might cause some problems for the passing game, which means that it might be a little more of a running tilt. And that's really the only situation where the Steelers have a chance, is if Najee Harris can outduel James Cook. But even with the wind, I feel like Josh Allen has that cannon of an arm. He's going to be able to find targets. Whereas if the Steelers are in a situation where it's a third down and any more than 5 with that wind, I don't think they're going to be able to do anything. I mean, Rudolph has been serviceable, but I just don't have any confidence in the Steelers to throw this ball well in that situation. And when you don't have the Steelers defense to back them up, I think no matter what way you slice it, the Bills will win this game. Packers at Cowboys. I want the Packers to get absolutely demolished in this game personally, after the way that the Packers fans, talked crap to us after beating us with all of our backups in, with Mullins and Dobbs, or not Mullins and Dobbs, Mullins and Hall in, after we absolutely destroyed them with Kirk in, and then all of a sudden they beat us in much less favorable circumstances for us, and they're acting like they're so much better. You got to know that if Kirk had been in that game, you would have lost by about 20. And so just really annoying that the Packers are now acting like they're better than us. Next season, I guarantee you the Vikings will sweep the Packers. And if that does not come true, I'll come up with some sort of punishment for myself. But going back into this matchup, the Cowboys are at home, have not lost a game at home this season. Dak Prescott actually playing really impressively so far, and their running game is really killing it. Pollard doing his job. Also, in the Cowboys' favor for this game, the Packers are a team that can definitely give up turnovers if Jordan Love gets uncomfortable, and the Cowboys are a defense that takes a lot of chances and goes for interceptions. So I've got a feeling the Cowboys are going to win the turnover battle by a pretty wide margin, and that's going to be a very significant factor in this game. And not to mention the fact that the Packers are just kind of a mediocre offense and a defense that is just meh. I mean, the whole team really is meh. It's just the fact that they have been able to deliver in clutch situations and have kind of benefited from a pretty easy schedule. And I know I'm going to sound biased against the Packers, but this is probably the Bills maybe as well, but this Cowboys Packers game is really the game I have the most confidence in that the Cowboys are going to find a way to win it, and it'll set up for what should be a really interesting matchup in the divisional round for the Cowboys. And who will they face? Because they could face the Lions, or they could face, I think it would be either the Eagles or the Bucks if the Rams were to take this victory. This will be the game that I will be watching when I live stream at 6:30 on this Sunday, and it will be the return of Matthew Stafford to Detroit. Not to mention the fact that Goff played for the Rams as well. It's kind of interesting because now you're seeing the situation where the Lions felt like they were better off finding a different option, and the Rams wanted to find a different option, and the Lions ended up trading Stafford to the Rams and getting the guy that is now going to lead them to a 12-5 season, and they got multiple first-round picks for it. So it's just a really interesting situation. And the Lions, what can we say about them? The game that they almost won against the Cowboys proved a lot to us that they are not just a pushover team that has had an easy schedule. You know, they were able to come out big at the beginning of the season, beat the Chiefs, and then there were also games that were some serious clunkers for them. They lost to the Bears, they lost to the Packers, they lost to some teams that they really should have beat, and I think it's going to be a similar situation to the Vikings. I don't know if that's necessarily fair because with the Vikings, we kind of deep down knew that they weren't going to do anything in the playoffs. For the Lions, it is kind of a toss up. What kind of team will we see? Because there's very different teams in the postseason compared to the regular season. Some teams are just not postseason teams, and the Lions are going to prove whether or not they are because Dan Campbell's coaching style, I've always felt was very regular season, you know, linear, where you make really risky decisions and they might pay off, they may not. And if they don't pay off, you know, you've got next week to try and work towards it and get them again. But in a situation where it's a win or go home, will Dan Campbell's coaching style end up proving to be what is needed for a team to make a legitimate playoff run? Will Dan Campbell change the way he does things because he's concerned about the win or go home situation? Who knows? But in that situation, I mean, if he changes up the way he calls games, is that going to throw the team off? So it's just a lot of different questions for a Lions team where we haven't seen a Lions team in the playoffs for years now, and it's just going to be interesting to see them for the first time. And on the Rams side, we've seen them play a lot in the playoffs the last few years, winning the Super Bowl a couple years ago. And so it's a battle between experience, inexperience. The Lions are an exciting young team. The Rams know how to win games like this. I'm going to say it's going to be a very close game, but the Lions will find a way to win it. I think, at least in this first round, Dan Campbell's aggressive style of calling plays and calling the game will work in their favor. I think there's going to be a couple 4th and 4s, 4th and 5s from midfield where Campbell's going to make something happen here. And I trust this Lions team, whether they have Laporta or not, to be able to get this victory. And then the very last game of the weekend, the Eagles at the Buccaneers. Now, a lot of this is contingent on, at this point, I'm very confident that they're going to play Jalen Hurts. It is a finger injury on his throwing hand, so I think it's definitely going to impact his ability to throw the football. I think that the Eagles are going to try and rely on the fact that they should have enough confidence to be able to do most of their damage in the run game and still beat the Bucks. But the Eagles have not been able to do much against pretty much any team in the last half of this season. It's really a toss-up, and I didn't expect this to be a toss-up. I thought that whether the Eagles or the Cowboys won or lost this division, whoever played in this game would demolish either the Bucks or the Saints or the Falcons. But all of a sudden, you throw the Eagles in, their star quarterback is not going to be able to throw the ball well, and honestly, their offense has been all over the place all season long. Their defense has always been good, but it's the job of the defensive coordinator that is really messing them up. I mean, there's so many good names on that Eagles defense, and you look every single week and you don't know how they're giving up as many points as they are. So, if this team relies on their defensive playmakers to make plays and gives the reins a little bit to them and then tries to get the running game going, I think it's still possible the Eagles win this game. Gosh, I'm gonna say the Eagles win it. Honestly, I feel like their defensive line in and of itself will be enough to take care of this Bucks team that has again been kind of all over the place all season as well. A 9-8 team that honestly did better than I expected them to, but still a team that I don't know is built for the playoffs. This is probably the biggest toss up of the week, but I'm going to go with the Eagles. I think that they'll be able to get the running game going enough. Jalen Hurts will still be able to throw the ball. He has all those weapons. I don't know the Eagles can possibly lose a game like this. Even if they have their backup in, I don't know if I could pick the Buccaneers to win this game. So there you have it. The recap here. I've got the Browns, I've got the Chiefs, I've got the Bills, Cowboys, Lions, and Eagles. So the Eagles are the only away team in my predictions that will end up winning. And I'm it's pretty much a guarantee that at least one of these picks are going to be wrong. And I'm really curious to see which one of them is wrong, or hopefully not multiple, but maybe multiple. But there's going to be some really good storylines in these games. It's going to be really exciting. I can't wait to just park myself on the couch all weekend long and just watch all of this unfold because it's going to be spectacular. But thanks so much for watching this video. Please let me know in the comments which of these picks you agree with, which ones you don't. If there's any factors that I might have missed about these games that I didn't mention, please let me know and we can talk about them in the comments. And as always, I'm going to be doing a reaction to the wild card round as once it ends, and I'll be going into the divisional round after that. But thanks so much again. Please tune into my live stream on Sunday, and I'll see you on the flip side.